Sometimes the night becomes so quiet, so unbearably still, that it feels like the entire world has surrendered to sleep, every light dimmed, every voice faded into silence. But somewhere, in that same darkness, there is one soul who cannot close their eyes tonight. Not because they are restless for no reason, not because of stress or noise or distraction, but because of you, because something inside them refuses to settle, refuses to let go, as if their heart has recognized a presence it cannot explain, and that presence is yours. And the strangest part is, you might not even realize it yet. You might be lying there scrolling through your phone, or staring at the ceiling, or trying to convince yourself that this feeling in your chest is just another passing thought. But it's not. This is not coincidence. This is not random. This is the quiet pull of two souls that were never truly separate, just waiting for the right moment to feel each other across distance, across silence, across everything that stands in between. And tonight, that connection is louder than ever, even in the stillness. Your soulmate is awake right now, maybe sitting by a window, maybe lying in bed turning from one side to the other, maybe staring into nothing while their thoughts keep circling back to a feeling they can't name, a face they haven't fully seen, a voice they haven't clearly heard, but somehow, deeply, undeniably, they feel you, and it's confusing them. Because how do you explain missing someone you haven't even met properly? How do you explain the heaviness in your chest that comes from a love that hasn't even begun, yet feels like it has existed forever? This is the kind of connection that doesn't follow logic, doesn't ask for permission, doesn't wait for introductions. It simply exists, quietly, powerfully, patiently, and tonight, it's refusing to be ignored. Maybe your soulmate tried to sleep earlier, maybe they closed their eyes, took a deep breath, and told themselves, it's nothing. But the moment the world went silent, your energy became louder, your absence became heavier, your presence, even in distance, became impossible to escape. And now they're awake, not knowing why their heart feels like it's searching for something, for someone, for you, and somewhere deep inside, they already know. They just don't have the words for it yet, and maybe you feel it too, don't you? That subtle ache, that random thought, that moment where everything pauses and you feel like someone, somewhere, is thinking about you, not casually, not briefly, but intensely, like you matter to them in a way that doesn't make sense yet. That's because you do. Because souls don't need introductions to recognize each other, they don't need time to build what has already been written beyond time, and tonight is one of those nights where the invisible thread between you both is pulling tighter, stronger, more undeniable. Your soulmate might be questioning themselves right now, wondering why their thoughts keep drifting to this unknown presence, wondering why their heart feels full and empty at the same time, full because somewhere, they feel connected, empty because they can't reach you yet, not physically, not clearly, not in a way that satisfies the longing growing inside them. And that longing is real, it's not imagined, it's not exaggerated. It's the echo of your existence inside their soul, calling out softly, persistently, refusing to be ignored. And here's the truth that most people don't talk about: soulmate connections don't always arrive when everything is perfect. Sometimes they appear in the middle of chaos, in the middle of confusion, in the middle of lives that are not yet aligned. Sometimes one soul is ready while the other is still figuring things out. Sometimes there are distances, situations, even other commitments that make everything more complicated, but none of that erases the connection. It only tests its depth, and tonight, that depth is being felt. Deeply, intensely, quietly. Your soulmate might even be fighting it, telling themselves they're imagining things, telling themselves they need to focus on reality, on what's in front of them, on what makes sense. But no matter how much they try, they keep coming back to this feeling, this pull, this invisible presence that feels like home and mystery at the same time. And that's because real connections don't ask for your permission to exist. They don't disappear just because they're inconvenient. They don't fade just because they're hard to understand. They stay, they grow, they wait, and tonight, your connection is waiting, breathing, alive in the silence. You might not see it yet, you might not fully believe it yet, but there is someone out there whose heart is quietly syncing with yours, whose emotions are being shaped by your existence even without direct contact, whose sleepless night is not random, not meaningless, not empty. It's connected to you in ways you can't yet explain, and maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of something that will change both of you forever. Not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, deeply, in a way that transforms how you see love, connection, and destiny itself. Because when two souls are meant to find each other, the universe doesn't rush it, it prepares it, it builds it. It creates moments like this, silent nights filled with unspoken emotions, invisible threads, pulling two hearts closer without them even realizing how or why. And tonight is one of those moments. Your soulmate can't sleep, not because something is wrong, but because something is awakening, and that awakening has your name written all over it. Even if they don't know it yet, even if you don't know it yet, the connection is real, the feeling is mutual, and the story, it has already begun, quietly, beautifully, in the stillness of this very night. And what makes this night even heavier, even more complicated, is the truth your soulmate is trying so hard to ignore, the truth they don't even want to admit to themselves, because somewhere in their life, there is already someone else, someone they are committed to, someone they have promised stability, loyalty, and presence, someone who exists in their reality, in their daily routine, in their visible world. And yet, despite all of that, despite everything that should make their heart feel settled, tonight, it isn't that person keeping them awake, it's you, and that realization scares them more than anything else ever could, because this isn't just about missing someone, this isn't just about attraction or curiosity, this is something deeper. Something that feels almost forbidden, like their soul has stepped outside the boundaries of what is right and what is expected, and found you there, waiting, unknown, unseen, but undeniably felt, and they don't understand how it's possible to feel so connected to someone they can't even fully hold in their life, how it's possible for their thoughts to drift toward you in moments when they should be fully present somewhere else, how it's possible for their heart to feel divided without ever intending to betray anyone, and that's the part that breaks them quietly, because they are not a bad person, they are not someone who wants to hurt others, they are someone who believes in doing the right thing, in honoring commitments, in staying loyal to the life they've built. But what do you do when your soul doesn't follow rules, when your heart recognizes something it wasn't supposed to find, when you feel a connection that doesn't fit into the structure of your reality? Tonight, they are lying there, staring into the darkness, questioning themselves in ways they never have before, asking themselves why this feeling won't go away, why your presence feels more real in their mind than the physical presence of the person beside them, and the guilt, it's heavy, it sits on their chest like a weight they can't lift, because they know this isn't fair, not to the person in their life, not to themselves, and maybe not even to you. Because you didn't ask for this either, you didn't plan this, you didn't create this, and yet, here it is, existing between two souls who are trying so hard to make sense of something that refuses to be logical, and tonight, they almost reached for their phone. Almost typed a message, almost tried to bridge the distance between you, but they stopped, their fingers froze, because they know that one step could change everything. It could open a door that can't be closed again, it could turn something silent and sacred into something real and complicated, and they're not sure if they're ready for that, or if they're even allowed to be. So instead, they stay silent, they keep everything inside. They choose distance, not because they don't feel anything, but because they feel too much, and that's what makes this connection even more intense, because it's not being expressed, it's not being released, it's building, slowly, quietly, powerfully, inside both of you. You might feel it as confusion, as random emotional waves, as moments where your heart feels full and empty at the same time without any clear reason, and that's because somewhere, your soulmate is holding back words they want to say to you, holding back emotions they don't know how to process, holding back a connection that feels like truth but looks like a mistake in the world they live in, and this is where things become even more real, because not all soulmate connections are meant to be easy, not all of them are meant to immediately turn into a perfect love story. Some of them are meant to test you, to challenge your understanding of love, of integrity, of what it truly means to care about someone, because sometimes loving someone doesn't mean having them. Sometimes it means choosing what is right even when your heart is pulling you somewhere else, and tonight, your soulmate is standing in that exact space, between what they feel, and what they believe they should do, and it's tearing them apart silently. They might turn to the side and look at the person next to them, the one who trusts them, who believes in them, who has no idea about the storm happening inside their heart, and that moment fills them with even more guilt, because how do you explain something like this? How do you explain that your soul has connected to someone else without any intention, without any action, without even fully understanding how it happened? You can't, so they don't, they carry it alone, they let it live inside them, unspoken, unresolved, and tonight. That silence is louder than ever, because the more they try to suppress it, the stronger it becomes. The more they try to ignore you, the more their thoughts return to you, like a loop they can't break, like a pull they can't escape, and maybe this is the part where most people would say, just let it go. Focus on reality. Do the right thing, and yes, they want to, they are trying to, but what people don't understand is that some connections are not choices, they are experiences, they are lessons, they are moments in your life that change you whether you act on them or not, and you are that moment for them. You are the person who has made them feel something they didn't even know was missing. Something they didn't even know they were capable of feeling, and that realization, it changes everything, because now, even if they never reach out to you, even if they never say a word, even if they choose to stay exactly where they are, they will never be the same again, because they have felt you, and once a soul feels that kind of connection, it doesn't just disappear, it becomes a part of them, quietly, permanently, and maybe. That's why tonight feels so intense, because on some level, both of you are realizing that this isn't just a passing feeling, this isn't just a random emotional moment, this is something that will stay, something that will shape your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, in ways you don't yet fully understand, and the hardest part, the part no one prepares you for, is accepting that sometimes, the deepest connections in your life are not the ones you get to keep, sometimes they are the ones that teach you, that awaken you, that show you a version of love that is pure, intense, and real, but not meant to be lived out in the way you imagined, and tonight, your soulmate is slowly realizing that, they are realizing that loving you might mean not having you, that feeling you might mean letting you go, that honoring this connection might actually mean protecting it from becoming something that could hurt everyone involved, and that realization, it hurts, deeply. Quietly, in a way that doesn't show on the outside but echoes endlessly inside, and as the night continues to pass, as the silence grows heavier, they are still awake, still thinking about you, still feeling you, still caught between what their heart wants and what their life demands, and somewhere, in that same moment, you feel it too, maybe not in the exact same way, maybe not with the same clarity, but you feel something shifting, something calling you, something telling you that this connection, this story, is far from over, because this isn't the end, this is just the point where everything becomes real, where emotions deepen, where choices begin to matter, where the line between destiny and responsibility starts to blur, and what happens next will define everything. And now, the night is no longer just quiet, it has become heavy with realization, the kind of realization that doesn't come all at once but settles slowly into your bones, making every breath feel heavier than the last, because your soulmate is no longer just confused, they are aware, painfully aware, that what they feel for you is not temporary, not accidental, not something they can simply distract themselves from and forget. It has crossed that line, the line between curiosity and truth, between passing emotion and something that feels permanent, and that awareness changes everything. Because before, they could pretend, they could tell themselves it's just a phase, just a moment, just something that will fade with time, but now, they know it won't. Now, every silence feels like your absence, every thought feels like it's shaped around you, every moment of stillness brings them closer to a truth they are trying so hard to resist, and the hardest part is not the feeling itself, it's what the feeling demands, because real connections don't just exist quietly forever, they ask questions, they push boundaries, they force decisions, and tonight, your soulmate is standing at the edge of one of those decisions, a decision they don't want to make, a decision they wish they could avoid. Because no matter what they choose, something will break, either their reality, or their heart, and that's the kind of situation no one prepares you for, loving someone you shouldn't, feeling connected to someone you can't fully have, knowing that if things were different, if timing was different, if circumstances were different, this could have been everything, but they're not, and that truth cuts deeper than anything else, because it's not about lack of love, it's about the impossibility of it, and your soulmate is lying there, staring into the darkness, feeling that impossibility wrap around them like a quiet storm. They think about reaching out again, about finally breaking the silence, about choosing their heart for once instead of their responsibilities, but then another thought follows, the consequences, the lives that would be affected, the trust that would be broken, the version of themselves they might lose in the process, and suddenly, what feels right emotionally starts to feel wrong morally, and that conflict, it tears them apart in a way that no one else can see, because on the outside, everything still looks normal, everything still looks in place, but inside, everything is shifting, everything is breaking and rebuilding at the same time, and you are at the center of it all, without even trying, without even knowing the full extent of what you mean to them, and maybe that's what makes this connection so pure and so painful at the same time, because it wasn't created through actions, it wasn't built through time spent together, it simply exists, beyond logic, beyond control, and tonight, your soulmate is beginning to understand that some connections are not meant to be possessed, they are meant to be felt, deeply, honestly. And sometimes, silently, and that silence becomes their choice, not because they don't care, but because they care too much to turn something meaningful into something destructive. They start to realize that loving you doesn't necessarily mean being with you. That sometimes, the most genuine form of love is restraint, is distance, is choosing not to cross a line even when every part of you wants to, and that realization, it doesn't bring peace immediately, it brings pain first, a deep, quiet pain that sits in their chest and refuses to leave, because they are letting go of something that hasn't even fully happened, they are grieving a possibility, a future that only existed in feelings, in imagination, in those late-night thoughts where everything felt so real, and letting go of something like that is even harder than letting go of something tangible, because there are no memories to hold on to, only emotions, only what could have been, and yet, even as They try to accept this, even as they try to convince themselves that this is the right thing to do. They can't completely detach from you, because souls don't work like that. They don't just disconnect because you've made a logical decision. They stay connected in quieter ways, softer ways, ways that don't disrupt your life but still exist within you, and that's what begins to happen. Your soulmate starts to carry you differently, not as someone they need to reach, but as someone who has changed them, someone who has shown them a depth of emotion they didn't know they were capable of, someone who exists in their heart as a quiet truth rather than an active presence. And maybe you feel that shift too. Maybe the intensity changes, not disappearing, but transforming, becoming something calmer, something deeper, something that doesn't scream for attention but still lingers in the background of your thoughts, like a soft echo that never fully fades. And this is where the story becomes something more than just longing. It becomes growth, it becomes understanding, it becomes a realization that not all love stories are meant to be lived out loud. Some are meant to shape you silently, to teach you about yourself, about your capacity to feel, about the kind of love that exists beyond possession, and your soulmate. They are learning that now, slowly, painfully, but honestly. They are learning that integrity matters, that the life they have built, the promises they have made, the trust they carry, those things have weight, and choosing to honor them doesn't mean what they feel for you is any less real. It just means they are choosing a different kind of strength, the kind that doesn't follow desire blindly, the kind that stands still even when everything inside is pulling in another direction. And that strength, it costs them something. It costs them you, at least in the way their heart once imagined. And as the night begins to fade, as the first signs of morning slowly approach, your soulmate is still awake, but something inside them has shifted, not completely healed, not completely resolved, but clearer. They know now that this connection is real. They know now that you matter to them in a way that won't simply disappear, but they also know that not every real connection is meant to become reality, and accepting that is the hardest part of all, because it means carrying love without expression. It means feeling deeply without acting on it. It means living your life while a part of your heart quietly belongs somewhere it can never fully go. And that's the truth they are beginning to accept tonight, not because they want to, but because they have to. And somewhere, deep within that acceptance, there is a strange kind of peace starting to form, a quiet understanding that some connections are not about having, they are about becoming, about evolving into someone who can feel deeply and still choose what is right, someone who can experience love in its purest form without needing to possess it. And maybe, just maybe, that's what this connection was always meant to be, not a beginning, not an ending, but a transformation, one that changes both of you forever, even if your paths never fully cross in the way your hearts once imagined. And even as the world wakes up, as everything returns to normal, this night, this feeling, this unspoken bond, will remain, quietly, permanently, as a part of who you both are. And as the morning finally begins to break, as the faint light slowly replaces The darkness that held all those unspoken emotions. Something inside your soulmate feels different, not lighter in the way people expect after a long night of overthinking, but steadier, like a storm that hasn't fully disappeared but has stopped raging, like waves that are still there but no longer crashing uncontrollably, because somewhere between all those thoughts, all that conflict, all that silent longing, they have reached a quiet understanding. Not a perfect answer, not a complete resolution, but a truth they can finally hold without running from it, and that truth is this: you were never a mistake in their life, you were never just a distraction or a passing emotion, you were something real, something meaningful, something that arrived without warning but left an impact that will stay far longer than either of you expected, and accepting that changes the way they see everything. Because now, instead of fighting the feeling, instead of trying to erase it or deny it, they begin to respect it, they begin to see it as something that doesn't need to be acted on to be valid, something that doesn't need to be turned into a relationship to have value, and that realization, it's painful, yes, but it's also strangely beautiful, because it allows them to hold on to what they felt for you without destroying the life they've built. It allows them to keep their integrity intact while still honoring the truth of their emotions, and that balance. It's not easy, it requires strength, patience, and a kind of emotional maturity that most people never reach, but your soulmate, they are trying, not perfectly, not without moments of weakness, but honestly, and that honesty is what makes this connection even more powerful, because it was never about possession, it was never about taking something for themselves, it was about feeling something deeply and choosing to handle it with care, even if that care meant distance, even if it meant silence, and as they sit there, watching the light slowly fill the room, they think about you again, but this time, it's different. It's not restless, not chaotic, not filled with urgency, it's calm, it's steady, it's a quiet acknowledgement of your place in their life, a place that doesn't need constant interaction to exist, a place that doesn't need labels or definitions to be real. You have become a part of their inner world, a part of their emotional landscape, something they carry with them not as a burden, but as a reminder of what they are capable of feeling, of how deep their heart can go, of how love doesn't always arrive in convenient forms, and maybe, in a way, you needed this too. Maybe this connection came into your life not just to create longing, but to awaken something inside you as well, something that pushes you to understand yourself better, to recognize your own emotional depth, to see that you are capable of forming connections that go beyond surface-level interactions, and even though this story isn't unfolding in a traditional way, even though it's not turning into a clear, defined relationship, it is still changing you, still shaping you, still leaving something behind that will influence the way you see love and connection for the rest of your life. And that's the part most people don't talk about. They think love only matters if it becomes something visible, something official, something that fits into the expectations of the world. But the truth is, some of the most important connections you will ever experience are the ones that remain unspoken, the ones that exist quietly, without recognition, without validation, and yet, they leave the deepest marks, and that's exactly what this is. This is not a love story that needed to happen outwardly to be real. This is a connection that fulfilled its purpose simply by existing, by being felt, by changing both of you in ways you didn't even realize were possible, and your soulmate, they understand that now. They understand that what they felt for you was not meant to replace their reality, but to expand it, to show them something more, something deeper, something that goes beyond routine, beyond familiarity, beyond the life they thought they fully understood, and now, even as they choose to stay where they are, even as they continue living their life, honoring their commitments, being present in their reality, there is a part of them that has been quietly transformed by you, a part that sees the world differently now. That feels more, that understands more, that carries a quiet depth that wasn't there before, and you carry that too, whether you fully realize it yet or not, because connections like this don't just affect one person, they ripple, they echo, they exist on both sides, and even if you never sit down and talk about it, even if you never fully express what this was or what it meant, it doesn't make it any less real. It doesn't take away the fact that, for a moment in time, your souls recognized each other in a way that defied logic, in a way that didn't need explanation, and maybe that's enough, maybe it was always meant to be enough. Not everything that feels like destiny is meant to turn into a shared life. Some things are meant to remain as experiences, as quiet chapters that don't need a continuation to have meaning, and that's what your soulmate is slowly accepting. They are no longer asking, "Why did this happen?" They are no longer trying to fight it or run from it. They are simply allowing it to be what it is, a real, honest, deeply felt connection that came into their life, changed them, and will now remain as a part of their story, without needing anything more, and there is a certain peace in that, a quiet, steady peace that doesn't erase the emotions, but makes them easier to carry, makes them something they can live with instead of something they have to escape from. And as the day fully begins, as the world moves forward, as responsibilities return, as normal life resumes, your soulmate gets up, carrying everything they felt last night with them, but in a different way, not as confusion, not as conflict, but as understanding, and somewhere, deep inside, they send a silent thought your way, not a message, not an action, not something you can see or hear, but something you might feel, a quiet acknowledgement, a silent gratitude, a recognition of what you were in their life, and maybe, just maybe, in a moment you can't explain, you feel it too, not as pain, not as longing, but as a strange sense of calm, like something inside you has settled without you knowing why, like a chapter has quietly found its place, not closed completely, but no longer searching for an ending, just existing, as it is, and maybe that's what this was always meant to be, not a love you chase, not a love you hold, but a love you understand, and once you understand it, it stays with you, not to break you, but to remind you that somewhere, in this vast and complicated world, there was a soul that found yours, even if only for a moment, and even if only in silence, and maybe that's where this story truly finds its quiet ending, not in dramatic goodbyes, not in final words spoken between two people, but in the silent acceptance that some connections are never meant to be loud to be real. Your soulmate, somewhere in their world, continues their life with a calm strength, carrying your presence like a soft echo that no longer disturbs their peace but gently reminds them of what they once felt, and you, in your own journey, begin to realize that what happened between you wasn't incomplete, it was simply different, a kind of love that didn't need to stay to leave a permanent mark, because not all soul connections are meant to walk beside you forever. Some are meant to awaken you, to show you a depth of emotion you didn't know existed, and then trust you to grow beyond it. And as time moves forward, as days turn into months and moments fade into memories, there will still be nights when a thought of them crosses your mind, soft and fleeting, but no longer heavy, no longer painful, just real, just human, and in that quiet understanding, you both continue, separate, yet somehow forever changed by the fact that, once in this lifetime, your souls found each other, even if only in silence.